Picture a packed room, music playing, voices overlapping, people laughing at things you just missed. You are standing right in the middle of it. And somehow, you have never felt more alone. That feeling has a name. It has a cause. And it stretches back hundreds of thousands of years before the invention of the party, the city, or the crowd. You are not broken. You are not shy. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. And that is the problem. Here is what is really happening. Your brain did not evolve for this world. It evolved for a different one. A world where the largest social group a human being would ever belong to contained somewhere between 50 and 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar identified this ceiling in the early 1990s after studying the relationship between primate brain size and social group size across hundreds of species. He found that the size of the neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thought and social processing, directly predicted how large a stable social group that species could maintain. For humans, that number landed at roughly 150. This became known as Dunbar's number. 150 people. That is your brain's social bandwidth. In that ancestral world, every person in your group had a name, a face, a history with you. You knew who to trust. You knew who owed you a favor. You knew whose child was sick and whose hunt had failed. Relationships were not abstract. They were survival. To be connected to your group was to be alive. To be cut off from it was to die. Your nervous system learned this lesson so deeply it carved it into your biology. Now fast forward to tonight. You are at a party with 200 strangers. Your brain looks out at the crowd and does what it was designed to do. It starts scanning for genuine connection. It looks for the people who know your name. It looks for the shared history, the trusted face, the relationship that means something. It finds none. And it registers that absence the same way it would have registered it 100,000 years ago, as a threat, as isolation, as danger. The music is loud. The lights are bright. And deep in your nervous system, an alarm is going off. This is not metaphor. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent 2 decades studying loneliness and found that the brain processes social exclusion using the same neural pathways it uses to process physical pain. When you feel socially disconnected, your anterior cingulate cortex activates, the same region that lights up when you break a bone. Your brain is not being dramatic. It genuinely cannot tell the difference between a broken arm and a broken connection. And here is the counterintuitive part. Being alone does not always trigger this alarm. Being surrounded by people you are not genuinely connected to does. Think about the last time you were truly alone, maybe on a walk, maybe reading, maybe doing something you loved by yourself. There was no alarm, no low hum of dread. Your nervous system was quiet. Because solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. Solitude is chosen, controlled, and safe. Loneliness is the perception of disconnection from people who matter. You can be lonely in a crowd of thousands. You can feel completely at peace alone in a forest. The crowd does not create belonging. The crowd creates comparison. Psychologist Leon Festinger described this in 1954 through his social comparison theory. Humans constantly evaluate themselves, their value, their status, their success, by looking at the people around them. In small ancestral groups, this comparison was grounded in real knowledge. You knew where you stood. You knew your role. In a crowd of strangers, the brain has no such anchor. It compares anyway. It sees the people laughing and assumes their joy is deeper than yours. It sees the conversations and assumes it is missing something. It sees the connections forming around it and feels the gap between them and you as a wound. Social media is a crowd that never ends. And your brain is comparing in every direction, all the time, with no anchor at all. There is a particular irony to modern life that your ancestors never had to face. They were never surrounded by more people than they could actually know. They never had to navigate a wedding reception of 300, a city of 3 million, a feed of 10,000 faces scrolling past in 10 minutes. The sheer volume of human presence in the modern world is, for your nervous system, completely unprecedented. And instead of making you feel more connected, it often makes you feel less. Because connection is not about quantity. It has never been about quantity. Cacioppo's research demonstrated that what predicts loneliness is not the number of people in your life, but the quality of the relationships you perceive as meaningful. A person with 3 deep, trusting friendships registers as less lonely than a person with 300 acquaintances. Your brain is not counting heads. It is measuring depth. And depth takes time. It takes repetition. It takes vulnerability survived together. Researcher Jeffrey Hall at the University of Kansas found that it takes approximately 50 hours of time spent together to move from acquaintance to casual friend, and around 200 hours to build a close friendship. You cannot fast-track it. You cannot manufacture it at a party in one evening. Your brain knows this, and it quietly registers every encounter that does not meet the threshold as another data point confirming what it feared. This is why you can leave a crowded event feeling more depleted than when you arrived. You spent 2 hours surrounded by people, performing connection, and your brain got nothing it was actually looking for. It is like spending 2 hours staring at pictures of food. The stimulation was there. The nourishment was not. So what do you do with this? You stop confusing presence for connection. You stop measuring your social life by how many events you attended or how many people you spoke to. You start measuring it by how many conversations made you feel genuinely seen. How many people in your life actually know what is worrying you right now? How many relationships have survived a hard moment and come out the other side stronger? You let your brain do what it is built for, not to catalog hundreds of faces, but to tend a small garden of real ones. Because the loneliness you feel in a crowd is not a flaw in your wiring. It is a compass. It is your nervous system pointing you back toward what actually matters. Not the room full of people, but the handful of them who already know your name. The next time you walk into a packed room and feel that low, familiar hum of being invisible, remember what it is. Your 200,000-year-old brain is telling you the truth. Not about the room, about what you are really looking for. And that is something worth walking toward.